We all know that NASA is one of the most capital-intensive US government agencies in the entire country, either to improve the technology with which they operate or to maintain the monumental staff they have. This is one of the defining characteristics, but obviously we could not forget space travel. Therefore, no one was surprised when that agency decided to inject a considerable amount of equipment, staff, and even capital to a couple of companies that are positioning themselves to be the leaders regarding space travel. Will they be right to trust them with all those resources? Could other companies end up gaining ground on SpaceX and Boeing regarding commercial space travel? It's still too early to answer these questions, but what we can do is talk about it and delve into NASA's reasons to support these two giants of aeronautics in their space career. How advantageous is it to lean to one side of the scale? At the moment, it seems that SpaceX is leading the way in terms of successful launches. Still, Boeing should not be underestimated, since they have been innovating for a long time. Of course, before we see what both companies have done, we want to invite you to subscribe to our channel. All you have to do is click on the red bell next to the video title, and YouTube will do the rest. If you are into entrepreneurship and all those topics that surround large companies, then you can't miss the content that's uploaded on a regular basis. Now, let's get into today's topic. NASA is one of those American organizations that has always caught the attention of many people over the years. They are always on the lookout for what's new in space technology, so it's not surprising that they have set their eyes on companies such as SpaceX and Boeing, which have remained at the forefront of the needs of the aeronautical and space sector. Of course, this interest is not recent, and the people who have been behind NASA try to make its technology one of the most advanced, so that it can keep up with all the objectives that are sought to be met thanks to them. That has been their thinking since the race to discover more and more of space began. So, although it might seem that their interests and requests seek to fill a need, the truth is that they want to show off the flag of the most advanced nation. At least in the race to get to space. Yes, the Moon, Mars, and other places in the Milky Way have already been reached, but as certain objectives have been achieved, they have been mutating so that they adjust to the times and resources they have. Now, it's no longer just reaching a certain area of space, but keeping a certain number of people outside, living in optimal conditions. It's intended that the astronauts of NASA and other governments have the ability to carry out their research and activities of the day without any setbacks. All this seeking to extend the time lapses. That is one of NASA's most notorious goals, and for the moment, thanks to programs like the one being developed by SpaceX, it seems that it can be achieved in the years to come. However, Boeing has taken the leap of faith and, with its most recent launch, has shown that it is, and remains, one of the most innovative international companies in terms of aeronautics for a reason. What will happen to SpaceX now that Boeing has won its first victory regarding prolonged launches into space? To understand a little about the future that awaits the company, the types of projects that both companies are developing must be seen and analyzed. So, let's start with SpaceX. Since 2020, SpaceX has surprised and amazed many people thanks to a certain space project, which was a success at the time. The Crew Dragon was put into orbit as part of a launch program. This had as its mission to take a group of 4 people into space and keep them up to a certain altitude, where they could perceive not only the curvature of the planet, but also the immensity of the space itself. After the first successful launch, the American company, owned by Elon Musk, certified that its first capsule had achieved its purpose, and with it, the contracts and requests for more trips didn't take long to arrive. This is how the space capsule was baptized as the Crew Dragon. The way the Dragon takes its crew on a journey is relatively simple to understand. Its Falcon 9 booster rocket is capable of powering the small capsule. After fulfilling its function and lifting the machine, the rocket returns to Earth and lands using its safety deployments so that it can be used in another launch. Thanks to this technology, the Crew Dragon has not only become a success for SpaceX, but has already executed at least 5 launch missions without any setbacks. All of them for the benefit of NASA. Well, now that we know what SpaceX did that won NASA's attention on their project, it's time to talk more about Boeing and the launch they performed a few days ago. Of course, before moving on to that, we've reached the halfway point of the video. So, as usual, we would like to ask you to support us by leaving your like on the video. Remember that each like brings us to more people and allows the platform to promote us, so don't forget to leave your thumbs up, and let's continue with the topic of Boeing and its project. A few months ago, Boeing had notified that they were finalizing the details of the new space project they were working on. Although most eyes were still on SpaceX, and all the successful missions it already had, there were those who were interested in what Boeing could offer with its launch. Among those eyes were those of NASA, so with that in mind, the company decided to set its launch plan at the end of last month. The result? A successful launch that marked a before and after for the company. Boeing's Starliner spacecraft was sent into space, and after a stay of at least 5 days on the International Space Station, it descended with the help of certain safety devices. The test mission was a successful one, as although it took more than 4 hours to landfall, the capsule did so and took its shipment to the mainland without any major setbacks. Wednesday, May 25th, became day 0 for those who had been working on the project, which proved to be completely viable for carrying humans to the International Space Station. It could be said that many careers and positions depended on this mission, since in 2019, Boeing had tried to make the same launch without much success. What went wrong on that occasion? The docking of the capsule to the International Space Station. From what was analyzed in the days after the first launch, it was found that there was a major problem in the capsule's internal clock, which kept the machine in a flight phase for much longer than necessary. Thanks to the fact that the second Starliner mission was a complete success, the spotlight has once again been positioned on the company, which in turn has made organizations such as NASA themselves interested in the next flights that are expected to take place in the months to come. Mark Nappy, Vice President and Director of Boeing's Commercial Manned Flight Program, said, quote, "We've learned a lot about the capability of our spacecraft and the endurance of our team since the first launch of the Starliner. We still have several operational tests ahead of us as we prepare for the space station meeting, but we are ready to show that the system we have worked on so hard is capable of taking astronauts into space." If Boeing manages to launch a manned mission before the end of the year, we could be looking at SpaceX's closest competition, which in turn could put Elon's company's deal with NASA in limbo. If Boeing's capsule costs and maintenance are proven to be lower, its people would have an extra that could complicate the situation for Musk's workers. Of course, it's still too early to talk about it, but seeing what the people behind Boeing have achieved, they could soon surprise us with the announcement of a manned mission to the International Space Station. An improvement that, although the Crew Dragon has already done so, remains one of the most important objectives for NASA: to be able to bring people from the ISS to Earth in the shortest possible time. Because of all this, the questions at the beginning make sense. What will happen to SpaceX now that the viability of the Starliner has been proved? And here we end today's video. With everything that was seen on this occasion, we can say that SpaceX has competition from Boeing. The success of the Starliner project is showing that Elon Musk's company is not the only one with the resources and ability to take multiple people into space. Having said that, it's time for questions. Who could become NASA's favorite in terms of space travel? Will the company keep SpaceX, Boeing, or could a third company come out of the dispute? Remember that it's still too early to rule out Blue Origin, so we'll keep an eye out for any changes. Be sure to comment on the videos and add your suggestions for new topics. We are reading them. Thanks for watching us. Don't forget to subscribe and give us your like. See you next time.